Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Dakota, the place where we sometimes find out that companies are really just really good at complex paperwork, and sometimes less so. Today we are diving into a filing that's all about restructuring and financing, which can sound dry. But trust me, There's always a story in the numbers if you know where to look. So we've got a filing from CenterPoint Energy Houston Electric LLC and its related entity CenterPoint Energy Restoration Bond Company III LLC. This is a Form 8K, which is basically a report for significant events that happen between the bigger regular financial reports like 10QS and 10Ks. Think of it as a company's immediate bulletin board for the public. The earliest event reported here took place on the 26th of February 2026. This filing is mainly about some pretty big financial moves. The big news here revolves around CenterPoint Energy Restoration Bond Company III, which we'll call the issuing entity from now on. They are essentially a financing vehicle, and on this date they did something called amending and restating their limited liability company agreement. This basically means they updated and formalized how the company is run and structured. It was adopted by CenterPoint Energy Houston Electric LLC, which is the sole owner or member of the issuing entity. Now this is where it gets interesting. The issuing entity on that same day issued a massive amount of debt, over $1.19 billion in what they're calling Series 2026, as senior secured system restoration bonds. You can think of these bonds as loans that the company is taking out from investors. The fact that they are senior secured means they are a top priority for repayment if things go south. And system restoration bonds sure sounds like this money is tied to fixing or upgrading infrastructure, which is a huge undertaking for any utility company. This massive issuance was done under a very detailed legal contract called an indenture. This contract lays out all the rules and promises for these bonds. US Bank Trust Company is acting as the trustee, which means they are the middleman making sure both the company and the bondholders are sticking to the terms of the agreement. To make sure everything is on the up and up, they also have legal opinions from Baker Botts confirming that these bonds are legally sound. You also see opinions on federal tax matters and even some US and Texas constitutional matters, all of which are super important when dealing with billions of dollars in financing, especially for critical infrastructure. There are also a number of other agreements filed, like a servicing agreement and a sale agreement for what they call system restoration property. This indicates that the company is likely securitizing assets related to system restoration, meaning they are bundling up these assets and using them as collateral for the bonds. Basically, they are transforming future revenue streams from infrastructure projects into cash today. Now let's talk about what this means. Issuing over $1 billion in debt is not something a company does lightly. It signals a significant investment in their infrastructure, likely to improve reliability, meet regulatory requirements, or perhaps recover from past events for investors. These bonds represent a way to lend money to CenterPoint and earn interest, with the backing of specific assets. For CenterPoint Energy Houston Electric, the parent entity, this move solidifies their ability to fund these massive projects. It shows they are committed to upgrading their grid, which is crucial for long-term operations and customer satisfaction. By Accession Christie L. Colvin, Senior Vice President and Chief Accounting Officer. By Samson Christie L. Colvin, Vice President and Chief Accounting Officer. The fact that Christie L. Colvin is signing off as both Senior Vice President and Chief Accounting Officer for the parent company and Vice President and Chief Accounting Officer for the issuing entity shows a high level of alignment and control over these financial maneuvers. So, what's the takeaway here? CenterPoint is making a significant financial play to fund critical infrastructure upgrades. They are essentially borrowing a huge sum of money backed by specific assets to ensure their systems are robust and modern. This is a common strategy in the utility sector where capital-intensive projects are the norm. Looking at this broadly, CenterPoint Energy appears to be proactively addressing its infrastructure needs. The massive debt issuance signals confidence in future revenue streams from these investments. However, it also means a substantial increase in their financial obligations, which is always something to keep an eye on. Investors in these bonds are betting on the company's ability to execute its restoration projects and generate enough revenue to repay the debt. For the company, the challenge will be successfully managing these projects, delivering on their promises, and ensuring these investments translate into improved service and financial stability. The risks here would be construction delays, cost overruns, or unforeseen regulatory hurdles that could impact the repayment of these bonds. Alright, that's our breakdown of CenterPoint's latest significant event filing. What's your take on this massive debt issuance? Does it signal strength or a potential future burden for the company? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into corporate finance helpful, give this video a like and subscribe for more. And don't forget to join our Discord community for more in-depth discussions. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode of Corporate Dakota.